So the big question is this: how do real estate investors who don't have a ton of free time, don't have access to off-market deals, and didn't start life on third base, how do we conservatively grow our real estate business to support our families, finally leave the corporate rat race, and build a legacy? That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answers. I'm Ed Matthews, and this is Real Estate Underground. Greetings and salutations, Real Estate Undergrounders. It's Ed Matthews with the Real Estate Underground. Thank you so much for joining us today. So today's a little bit of a different show, like you've heard in the past. After over all of those other episodes, we love to sprinkle in different asset classes to see what's going on in the rest of the world. And today I'm joined by Dan Lewkowicz. Dan, thank you so much. Before we got on here, we were talking football. I am a Wolverine fan by relation, and he is a tried and true, full-blown, lives somewhere in Michigan kind of Wolverine fan. So he's the real deal. Dan, welcome to the show. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm definitely excited to be here.
Yeah. So let's talk about Encore and, your firm and what you guys do for a living, and then we can get into it.
Sure. So I am Dan Lewkowicz. I'm a senior director here at Encore Real Estate Investment Services, and we are a net lease investment sales firm. So what that means is that we help buyers and sellers transact typically with either single tenant net lease properties or multi-tenant retail properties. As we were discussing, I do sell a lot of automotive parts stores, fast food restaurants, medical office buildings, et cetera. So really, our sole purpose is to be advisors to our clients and to help them navigate, the investment scene and the current market at any given time. And I live, eat, breathe, and sleep, investment sales, real estate.
Awesome. Hey, nice to be in the club with you. We got jackets and a secret handshake and everything. So as far as the investment type, right? I'm this show and I'm used to talking multifamily. So you're talking about, anywhere from a 6 to an 8 cap, and the debt usually lands somewhere in that 8 to, at least the initial bridge is in that 8 to 10%. And then, agency debt is in the mid 6s. So, once you land and stabilize, then, you create the spread. But your world is way different, right? I've looked at medical office buildings. I've looked at Starbucks, for instance, just to see if it made sense to diversify out. And, the cap rates that I saw were, far more compressed, right? But longer term leases, and I'm going to let you explain it because I'm by no means an expert on this. So the audience understand kind of investors that want to buy from you. How do they look at the properties that you're representing?
Yeah, so great question. First of all, cap rates have expanded over the last 18 to 20 months. So, the days of the 4 and low 5 caps are kind of gone. There's still a lot of trophy generational real estate that's out there, or Chick-fil-A's, things like that. But in general, most of what we sell has expanded slightly at the very least. Some asset classes within net lease, like dollar stores, which compressed rapidly over the last decade. They've gone up 100 or 125 basis points, which is a lot.
Wow,
in my
that's
world.
A huge jump.
It is, but relative to what debt has increased, it's not. It's 25% of that. So in terms of what we sell, what we market, this is all we do. Last year we did 320 transactions, $985 million. It's a significant amount of volume, almost $1 billion. So in terms of the way that these assets are viewed, first of all, you hit on a few things. Number one is the long-term leases, right? So most of these single tenant net lease deals have 20, 25-year leases with options periods. You also have stability and security. The tenant in this case is not, a single individual that may suffer from bad credit or difficulties or bankruptcy or whatever, right? And then be delinquent. Many times these tenants have hundreds, if not thousands of locations. So even if they're not doing well in your location and they have to close, they're still obligated to continue paying rent, right? So that's very important. I will say as a caveat though, I always tell people, it's nice that you are buying this Taco Bell and it's a 300 unit guarantee, like 300 other locations are on the lease, all wrapped up in one. But why don't you see if you can find the sales figures? See if you can find how well is this particular location doing? What's their rent to sales ratio? That's a very important aspect. And then if you're able to find entity level financials to tell you how the company is doing, that's even better. So, typically these properties are bought because of their stability and their security. And it's specifically with, absolute triple net leases, the landlord has no responsibility, right? Because remember, the tenant pays for your taxes, the tenant pays for your insurance, the tenant pays to, sweep the parking lot, to repair the parking lot, to plow the snow, to cut the grass, to fix the roof. every single thing in an absolute triple net lease, right? So people like that passive aspect of it, this coupon clipper aspect of it, and the fact that much of what we sell are credit rated tenants, so that you're buying in essence a bond, right? That's wrapped up in sticks and bricks.
Wow, that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, I kind of at least a very high level understand net, but that's an interesting place. So when you look at an investor, Ed darkens your doorstep and says, "Hey, I'm looking to buy. I've got X millions to deploy, and I'm looking to buy as many Taco Bells as you can sell me." Right. So what am I looking at in terms of the metrics for these buildings? You mentioned, you hit on a couple of them, but is this just a cash on cash play, or how do the investors approach the investment?
Great question. So it's really not just a cash on cash play. For certain players, it is that's all it is, right? But especially for a lot of smaller investors, when I say smaller, in my mind, that's somebody who owns let's say less than 5 or 10 properties. Right. So everybody's going to be different, right? So one buyer might, first of all, there's the asset class difference. So I've got buyers that have bought shopping centers from me and they only want to buy shopping centers, right? For various that within net lease are they going to buy. Number two is are they a high yield guy or girl? Are they looking for, the highest return possible and they don't mind taking a little risk? Or are they no, we want a lower return, set it and forget it. We don't want to be bothered. We don't want to even know anything about it. We just want to receive the check, or the ACH every month. So you have to understand your investor profile because there are major differences. And then, obviously, like I hinted on before, there are some buyers that love auto, right? Maybe you've got a buyer that wants bonus depreciation, right? So that buyer may be looking at car washes and gas stations, right? Maybe there's another buyer that believes that fast food is here to stay and loves it, wants to buy fast food. Another buyer might want shopping centers because they're higher cap rates. There's opportunity for upside potential by filling vacancy. And you also have upside potential in terms of lowering expenses and raising rents and changing leases from gross leases to triple net leases. So it really depends on the investor. And that's why a good part of the beginning of the relationship is me getting to know you, right? And asking you questions and then showing you deals that may or may not fit. And very important for an investor is the feedback you provide the broker saying, I love this, or I don't love this, and here's why. That's so important, and I can't tell you how many times investors miss out on giving feedback back to their broker, which could increase efficiency and save time.
Yeah, that's something that you hit on that really resonates with me. We've got I get asked all the time, how do I find deals? How do I get, big time brokers to pay attention to me? And the two things I always tell them is timeliness of response. If they send you a deal, turn it around as fast as possible. If you're looking at it for more than a couple hours without some sort of feedback, that's too long. Get back to them or her. And then the other one obviously is give candid feedback, because you can't hit a target that's moving. Right. So be crystal clear on your buying criteria. So if I'm parachuting into your market and I'm looking to build credibility and build a relationship with you, what are some of the things that I can do to help you understand that A, I know what I'm talking about, and B, I'm a closer?
Yeah, great question. So it's like all relationships. Yeah. So the first and foremost, the most important thing from my perspective is honesty and transparency. If you're coming to me and you're saying, Dan, this is what I'm looking for, but I'm not ready to buy, that's great. I'll respect that. I'm happy to show you deals. One day you might be ready to buy. But if you come to me and say, Dan, this is what I'm looking for, and I show you 10 deals that check every single box, I'm going to start wondering, why are you not buying?
Yeah.
So it just comes down to being transparent and being honest in the beginning, right? That's so important. And then, I just can't stress enough, if you have specific parameters of what you're looking for, then please, by all means, when I do my job and show you those things, you need to come through as well. Otherwise, I'm going to know you're not really serious right now. So that's super important. I think it's important too, for anybody, whether you're new or not new. I'll give you a great example. I recently listed a property, 12 offers right away, 12 offers. A lot of the offers were just straight LOIs that I put together or that came from brokers. I didn't really know, much about, about the buyer or, the buyer profile or anything. It wasn't provided to me. And then I had one, offer that came with proof of funds. It came with a letter from the lender. It came with a personal financial statement, and it came with a schedule of real estate owned. I looked at this, and in 5 minutes, I could say, this is a great buyer. I sent all 12 offers to my seller, and my seller didn't even want to look at the others because he didn't want to decide. Write the letter from your lender. You can get it in 10 minutes. to put together, when an offer is submitted, put that in there. It makes the broker's job so much easier. And the chance of your offer being accepted over potentially even a better offer, so to speak, is actually very high. So I think that's very important. And that's something I tell people.
Yeah. And so let's talk about that a little more. So the whole idea here is to present put your best foot forward, right?
Yeah.
And so you just kind of clicked off a handful of things that a seller is going to be nervous about. And, as salespeople, as a salesperson, job number one is problem solving, right? And so the number of problems you can solve before they even get to evaluating the solutions or the offers, that is, stacks the deck in your favor because, the fact is that if they're worried about, first thing, I've got a couple of properties that I'm putting on sale pretty much now. And the first thing that I ask our broker is, can he close? Right. And if I get, here's a personal financial statement, here's proof of funds up to X million, here is, all the other properties that look just like yours that they already own. Here is the fact that they've been doing this for 12 years now. And anything else you can put in place to demonstrate that A, you're serious, and B, you're going to follow through.
Yes.
Is a huge help.
No doubt. I mean, I look at it, my job as a broker is to save everyone time, and in every aspect, right? I don't just mean like making your life easier and saving you time. I mean that if I'm negotiating with the other side and I send an LOI, I say, here's an LOI. When can I save time and save people, that wasted opportunity? So at the end of the day, if you can be a performer, if you're helping to save time in the transaction, everyone is going to want to work with you, because the more time I save, the more deals I can do, the more I can help my clients, the more money I can make for them. It's just, a fact of the business. Like, we only have 365 days a year. And, the more time we're wasting on buyers that are just not, either ready, willing, able, or prepared, it's just not where we want to be. It's not where we want to devote our time.
Because, let me ask you a couple of personal questions. Do you get a salary from your brokerage?
No, I do not.
Yeah. So that tells me that how you spend your time is probably the most important decision you make every day, right?
Yeah. I mean, all you have is your time. That's it.
Right. Yeah. You can get more money. You can make more money, but you can't wind the clock back. So once,
right.
And, like you were saying, 365 days. And, you're a human being, right? So you require sleep. So, there's another 4 to 8 hours a day that you're losing. So that leaves you, 16 to 20 hours of working, hanging out with the family, and, doing all the other stuff that you like to do during the day. So time is absolutely precious. And, whether you're dealing with a broker in your part of the business or, in my part, in the residential and commercial multifamily business, you got to understand that, guys like Dan and the other folks that we all work with, they are completely bound by their calendars, because they've got to know that every minute that they're spending is producing for their clients and ultimately for them. Right. So I think we've got a choppy internet. So that's why I'm bouncing back and forth between what you're saying. I'm trying to recap what you're saying. We'll edit this out. Don't worry about it. And then so as far as, getting in front of, a hitter like you, is it really that simple that I've just got to prove that I'm a real guy? I can do what I say I'm going to do.
I mean, for me, it's simpler than that, because I give out my cell phone at the end of every podcast and people call me, and I love talking real estate and I love helping people. So, you don't have to be even at that point. If you call me and you want to talk about something real estate related, I'm here to help. I mean, most brokers,
love that.
Yeah, most brokers have a much higher bar than I do, but I find that's my way of giving back. I can tell you so many stories of people that call me and say, I heard you on such and such a podcast. They tell me where they're at, we talk. And then 6 months later or a year later, they call me again and they're like killing it. And it just feels so good to hear that. So, I mean, in terms of what the next level, though, is if you want me to represent you and find you deals, you better be responding to emails, telling me feedback and writing offers. And if it checks the boxes, we better be moving, because I don't do that much buy side exclusive representation. I'm a listing broker. I do in many cases represent the buy side as well. And then I build relationships, but I have only a select, handful of clients that I send deals to on a regular basis. Those are people that have proven themselves, because that I take away from my time to do that. I only do that if it's going to lead to something for everyone involved.
Yeah. And, that's the beautiful thing, right? Is as you build your book of business, you've got that, very small group of known investors who, when you send them a deal, they can come back with at least least arrange in a matter of, a few minutes to an hour. And you know that if there's enough there in terms of if they're close enough, then, it makes sense to take the next step. But so as soon as you allow time to get away as a buyer, as an investor, when a broker has kind of sent, gone the extra mile and sent you a pocket deal, you best be turning that around in about 15 minutes. If you can't, learn how to do it, because it is possible. And like you were saying, Dan, and if you don't know how to figure that out in any asset class, I love to tell people I'm a cheap date. And so, all you got to do is find, either email me or find me on social media, let me know what you're working on. And at the very least, I'll meet you for a Zoom call. Most of the time I'll meet you for coffee if you're within my area. And almost always I pay for the coffee. I mean, it's like you said, it's, guys like Dan love to give back because this industry has been really good to people like us, right? And so, you can't take advantage of it. But as you build rapport and you serve each other and there's a level of trust, then you can ask for that 15-minute phone call or cup of coffee to pick his brain, right? And so
absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So we're on a roll, but I'm gonna put this back on the rails a little bit, and let's get into the final four. All right. Hope you brought your brain today. So I'm always interested in leaders like yourself who have been very successful, and invariably there have been coaches and mentors and bosses who have kind of shaped and guided you along the way. Yeah, I'm curious, and even family members for that matter. So I'm curious about best advice you've ever gotten and who gave it to you.
So much advice. One of the best pieces of advice I ever got, I was a lot younger, and I was speaking with somebody who I really respected from a business perspective. And he told me that if he could give me one piece of advice, it would be that I should find a mentor and make myself dumb in front of him. Yes. Meaning, don't try to show him that I know everything. Just be a sponge. So I immediately said, okay, great, you're my mentor. And this guy mentored me for a while. It was really, really incredible. Right. And another thing, so I've always suffered from shiny object syndrome. And thankfully, I'm 40 now. Thankfully, as I got older, it was something that became much easier to control. But I remember at one point, I would always have like so many side hustles, doing so many things. And I just was spread so thin. And a successful individual I worked for told me, he said, listen, there's nothing wrong with starting a new venture, but don't start a new venture until you're an expert at what you're doing, right? Just become an expert in one thing and then go from there. And that's why, like, when I got into commercial real estate, I have a ton of real estate background. But when I got into commercial real estate, I wanted to be a specialist. I wanted to find one niche and one narrow focus to specialize in. And, at the end of the day, that was net lease, because people could call me for net lease. If people call me for multifamily, I got a ton of great brokers to refer you to. But right. That idea of specialization and of shiny object syndrome, that is not something that's going to really lead to, a lot of success. Now, I think that a lot of people have that because they just have that kind of mind and that mindset and that entrepreneurial flair and creative energy. That's great. That, and apply it to your one narrow focus, become an expert at it. You'll see so much more success, so much more respect as a professional, in your field. And then, I guess in terms of, I don't know that I ever heard this as advice, but, from my perspective, if I was telling somebody how I would answer that question to them, I would say that it's very important to understand the fundamentals of your field. I know the fundamentals of my field like the back of my hand. I know that I have to cold call and post on social media and do my outbound outreach. I know I have to put together valuations and proposals. I have to follow up. I have to get listings. I have to sell them. I have to follow up through escrow and close deals. I know what my fundamental tasks are on a day-to-day basis. So when things get tough, right? When there's a COVID or when there's interest rates or when there's a war or whatever, I keep my head down and I focus on my fundamentals. While other people are scrambling or while there's nobody in the parking lot at the office, I focus on my fundamentals. I put my blinders on. It's very similar to what I said with focusing on one thing.
Stay with us. We'll be right back. A motivated seller just filled out your web form. If you call back within 5 minutes, you're nearly 4 times more likely to get that seller appointment. But delay your follow-up by even just 10 minutes? Forget it. You're toast. Ella Vista Connect calls that lead back in 60 seconds, qualifies them, and schedules your meeting. Find out how much slow follow-up is costing you. Free calculator at ellavista.com/underground.
but it's just the idea that you have to like take the emotion, put it aside. You know what you need to do those things. It's going to work out. And then I guess the last, sorry, I know I'm going on and on and on.
This is great. It's
but
cool.
the last thing, this is so important. And people think it's hocus pocus, but if you look at things like all these great books that are out there, in many cases, they're just different permutations of the same messages, which to me tells me that they're absolute truth, right? Just in different ways of speaking. So, one of the things I found is that mindset and mentality is like number one. So, like, for example, Think and Grow Rich talks about coming up with a number of dollars you want to have in your bank account and then envisioning that like twice a day, envisioning the money, what it smells like, what it feels like, what it looks like, at least, twice a day, talking about things in the present as if you already have them. It sounds magical and hocus pocus. It is 100 meditating on my goals, my business goals, and sometimes professional goals. And I'm telling you, I hit them sometimes to the exact dollar amount. It's unbelievable. So I would say like the only thing stopping you is you. That's the most powerful lesson that I think I could end that question with.
I can't add a thing. You kind of hit on it in that last question, but I want to drill into it a little bit. So the leaders almost always, I've yet to meet one that isn't really. Leaders are always readers, right? They're always, knowledge sponges in some way, shape, or form. And so I'm curious about how you take in information. Do you read physical books, audio books, podcasts? And then I'm also curious about who the author or creator you're paying attention to these days.
Yeah, so I take in a lot through LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn. I've got about 18,000 followers. I put out content every single day. And, so I get a lot of information there. I do watch, informational or educational videos, take courses. I love, business psychology. I'd say like, one of my favorite books, this book is like gold. It's called Influence, The Psychology of Persuasion. Yeah, it's so good, by Robert Cialdini. It's so good. And then obviously Think and Grow Rich. I mean, I'm telling you, like I've read that book at least 5 times. I bought it for my daughter when she was 12 years old. She probably didn't understand half the stuff in there, but I didn't care. But that book is just, that's golden too. Those recipes for success are tried and true. And, that manifestation and visualization, it's so, so powerful. And then, for me, I think that I really do enjoy LinkedIn, and I have very close relationships with industry leaders, in my field and similar fields. And I think that just by exchanging information and asking questions and back and forth, that for me is, incredibly valuable and helps me to grow. I also have an accountability partner. He's an amazing individual. His name's Ben Kogut. He is the CEO of Rooster Equity Fund. And he's actually going to be a guest of mine on my upcoming LinkedIn Live. But we've been doing this accountability partnership for 4 years now, and we do it every single week, rain or shine. And it's been so good for me, business and personal. Just so many wins for both of us, and we've become like brothers. We've traveled the world together, and it's been amazing.
It's amazing how just that 15 to, I mean, it's not a long call, right? It's
an hour. We do an hour.
You do an hour.
So and I don't devote an hour to many things.
Yeah, I can imagine, right? And neither do I. I hear you. So that's obviously, people should take from that what your priority is, right?
Yeah, it's so good. Accountability partners, I highly recommend. They'll change your life.
It's amazing what you can accomplish when you have to face someone that you like and respect, who like and respect you. 7 days from now, I've got to sit down with Ben, and there's no way in hell I'm telling him that I didn't get done what I said I was going to get done. There is no way that's happening.
No doubt. I mean, it's helped me to exercise, right? Knowing that I needed to get a certain number of times in. It's helped me to hit certain metrics on call volume, all personal things. I mean, he just texted me, like literally as we're doing this, thanks accountability partner. I just sold he had an extra car that he didn't need. I just sold my Thunderbird. So it's random things, but you know what? The truth is that even from a business perspective, that Thunderbird, I've been telling him for 6 months, that Thunderbird is taking up. Oh man, I didn't sell it. I want to sell it for this. Yeah. To get that off your head.
Right. Exactly. Because all it's doing is, I had an old boss who used to call that brain damage. Right. It's the stuff that keeps you from thinking about the stuff you really need to be thinking about.
Yeah.
Okay. So, as we were getting to know each other before, a few weeks ago and now here, one of the things that I admire about you is, your purpose, right? Your vision in terms of why you're doing what you do. Can you tell the folks a little bit about, what gets you out of bed in the morning on Mondays?
Yeah. I mean, so first of all, thankfully, I'm a high energy guy. I love what I'm doing. I'm very, very passionate. So I don't really have a hard time going. For me, it's actually the opposite. Sometimes it's hard to stop. But, if I would look back and say, like, why am I doing this? It's for a variety of reasons. Number one, I have 5 kids, right? And I want to leave a legacy for them. And I want to have a business that an enterprise that if they want, they can come in and do this as well. Because I think commercial real estate brokerage is the greatest gift, in the world. Honestly, I love it, absolutely love it, and there's so much opportunity. So that's one for me. Number 2 would be like freedom. Obviously, I work very hard. I also enjoy myself when I travel and take time away. But eventually, one day, I don't want to have to work. I want to have that freedom. Right. And then the other thing is, I am an avid car enthusiast. Like, I am obsessed with cars, and I'm obsessed with a specific type of car. And for me, like what I do has enabled me to own cars that I dreamt of. I mean, I had literally on the way here, I'm so excited, I can't even tell you. On the way here, I got a video. My dream car is getting loaded into the trailer in Arizona and shipped to me here in Michigan. And it's
congrats. All right.
Yeah.
So come on, tell me, what is it?
So this is actually, I love Dodge Vipers. This is going to be my 3rd Dodge Viper, but this one is a 1998 red GTS. So it's the coupe, one owner. It's got 12,000 miles. It's got some modifications like Canon air filters and Bellinger headers and, smooth tubes, high flow catalytic converters, and of course a catback exhaust. It sounds incredible. It's got the 708 lumpy cam, which is the most desirable cam. They only did it for a few years in Vipers. It's just a great all around super clean car, and I can't wait to get it. And the funniest thing is that when I was a kid, I used to go with my friend. My friend's dad worked at the Viper Prowler plant, and they used to take us every year. Yeah, they used to take us every year to the plant, and it was amazing. They would take us for rides in Vipers. And I have on my wall, it's from like September of 1997, right? And it's a picture of me in, guess what? A red Dodge Viper GTS. They only made 477 that year. So there's a chance that the car that's been on my wall, right, since I was a little kid.
Is that car.
Yeah, exactly.
That's so cool. So cool.
Yeah.
No, I grew up in a car family myself, but we're more Ford, Mustang, and Shelby guys. So we're
nice.
Mid 60s to late 60s kind of
nice.
But
nice.
Yeah, I've always had a thing for Camaros too, the 68, 69.
Those are great.
Oh my God.
I love every time I see one, it makes me smile.
So all right, cool. So now I understand your purpose. You gotta support your board of directors at home and sounds like a profound car habit. So that'll get you going. All right. Cool.
Yeah.
So let me ask you the last thing in the final 4. So if some guy from Connecticut came into your life and waved a magic wand and took away everything that you have right now, except what you know, right? Business-wise, not family. You have your family, your kids still think you're tall. But the only thing you get to keep is what you know. What would you do? How would you approach building back differently than you did?
I mean, I would do exactly what I'm doing now. I would do it differently, right? I would do it differently. So I would hire right away. I'd probably invest, hopefully I have some money, right? That didn't go away, but I'd invest like maybe 20 grand in building out the absolute best database I could of principals, investors, brokers, real estate investment trusts, family offices, et cetera, et cetera. And I would just get on the phones. I'd get on social media. I'd bring some junior brokers in and start getting deal flow. Start getting proposals, start getting listings, and just build it right back up. That's it. I wouldn't blink. That's what I would do.
Yeah. Awesome. So I kind of jumped the gun a little bit with this next question, but I'm going to ask anyway. So when you're not, slinging commercial real estate, what do you like to do?
Great question.
We took care of family. We took care of cars. What else do you like to do?
Yeah. I mean, I love cars so much. I love being on a track, racing them too. That's the best. But
dangerous.
But I know. Yeah. There's a company that comes to town a couple times a year with every supercar you can imagine, and you can rent them and go drive them on professional racetracks. Thankfully, they only come to town a few times a year.
Is that Bondurant?
No, it's actually called Extreme Experience.
Oh, I've seen those guys.
Yeah, it's so awesome. So aside from that, I love to travel. I love to go to nice restaurants. I love nice cuisine. Traveling is resorts. I really, really love. I do like to snowboard. I've been playing guitar since I was 7 years old, since I was a real little kid. I like to exercise, do yoga, things like that. And just, spend time with friends. I really enjoy that. Sports games are fun as well.
All right. Awesome. And so if people want to get in touch with you or learn more about you, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah. So first of all, as I mentioned, I'm very active on LinkedIn. So you can follow me there. First name, Dan Last name is Lewkowicz, Lewkowicz. Again, Lewkowicz. That would be great. Say hi, introduce yourself. Let me know that, you met me from Ed Matthews podcast. Additionally, if you own commercial real estate and you want to sell it, or you want to know what it's worth, or if you are thinking about getting into the industry as a broker, as an investor, or you just want to talk shop in real estate, I'm going to give out my direct cell phone. Please feel free to give me a call. It's 248-943-2838. Again, 248-943-2838. And if there's anything I can do to add value, it would be my pleasure.
Awesome. And we'll put that in the show notes as well. So Dan Lewkowicz, thank you so much for your time today. This was actually a really cool conversation. I'm glad we were able to get together. So thanks for your time.
Yeah, me too. Thank you so much. This was wonderful.
All right. This has been the Real Estate Underground podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. It helps us grow. Until next time, happy investing. This has been the Real Estate Underground. Don't forget to subscribe. It helps us grow. Until next time, Undergrounders, remember your real estate journey begins with a simple step forward. Now get to it. Bye for now.